Hello. A very good evening to our viewers. Welcome to Elite TV and you're watching Open Debate in English. I'm Amrita, your host for this crucial debate on the topic, Lessons from the Present Conflict in Palestine. Throughout history, we have witnessed innumerable wars in the small piece of land known as Palestine in the Middle East. The Jewish state was established in 14 May 1948 after much conflict. The territory of Israel almost coincided with the land of Palestine. On November 29th of 1947, the UN General Assembly passed Resolution 181 Clause 2 and partitioned Palestine into three parts: the Jewish section, the Arab section, and the city of Jerusalem as a corpus separatum to be governed by a special intergovernmental regime. The Jewish side accepted the partition plan, but the Arab side rejected it. The Arab world swore to annihilate any Jewish state in Palestine. Since the establishment of the State of Israel in 1948, there have been 6 Arab-Israeli wars. If the present conflict is added, it is now the 7th Arab-Israel conflict. In the medieval period also, the Christian countries of Europe undertook 8 crusades against the Muslims over the claim of Jerusalem. In this episode, we will be drawing parallels from the Israeli-Palestinian conflict with the present situation in Manipur. And to discuss on this matter, we have our expert panelists present here in the studio and also joining us from online. We have our first panelist, Ningthoukhongjam Satyajeet, Bureau Chief, UNI. Welcome to Open Debate, Mr. Satyajeet.
Thank you, thank you.
Our next panelist for tonight is Advocate Victor Chongtham, Lawyers for Farmers. Welcome to Open Debate, Mr. Victor. And our third panelist for tonight is Mr. Jodha Heikrujam, Spokesperson, Indian Delegate at the United Nations and Representative at the United Nations Youth Ambassador of India. Welcome to Open Debate. I will start the first question with Mr. Satyajeet. Is that the region of Palestine have witnessed numerous wars. There have been 8 crusade wars spanning 200 years during the medieval times and over 6 wars after the Second World War. Why is this region so much prone to war, and why is the world bodies and the states unable to bring a lasting peace in this region?
The Middle East and the West Asian region, that is where Israel and the Palestine are situated, it is a very complicated politics. In fact, both have their own legacies, both have their own claims, but the unfortunate trend is the massive use of arms and ammunition backed by the superpowers, which have resulted in the prolonged crisis. In fact, we can start the discussion by saying that this, what we have, is a fallout of the British colonialism, because in fact we all know that after the Balfour Declaration and the establishment of the Zionism, they started having a dream of having a nation where the Jews they start a resettlement.
Yes.
It is a very complex situation, and the British played a very big role in it. And after that, we saw the Cold War, where the Russians, they started having considerable influence on the Arab nations. And the United Nations, it always wanted to have a region, a country which was supporting it. So the Israel was begged by the United States, so that's why the role of the superpowers resulted in the conflict in the area. We hope that the crisis will end soon, otherwise the sufferings will go on, and those who suffer in such crises are women and children. And so the superpowers should slow down their support to the nations, otherwise it will go on and human sufferings will see no end. That I will briefly say in the first round.
Again, just to interrupt to follow up that question. I would like to draw a parallel with this current conflict in Palestine and with the ongoing situation in Manipur regarding the ethnic conflict that is going on in Manipur right now. So how do you take that by drawing the parallels?
In fact, after the Ukraine war, the other major conflict which happened in this in India is the conflict between the Meitei and the Kuki, the clashes between the two ethnic groups. And after that, in October, I mean, this month itself, we saw the start of the strike by the Hamas and the retaliation by the Israeli military forces. Many have started analyzing both the situations, but I would say that both are slightly different because in Israel, the Jews have some legitimacy because they said that they were there since the 6th century BC. They were there, but the rise of the Byzantine empires, the Roman empires, there's so many empires. Then especially after the Second World War, where Hitler attacked the Jews, I mean, all the Jews were scattered, so they started coming back. But the situation is slightly different in Manipur because the Kuki settlement, I mean, they were already there in Manipur, but the concept of Zionism and the concept of a greater Kuki concept, it came from Myanmar and other sides. So, right. so there is a slight difference. But from this present crisis, what we can assume is that in the international conflicts, whatever we read in the papers are not correct because, for example, the Israel-Palestine crisis, the media is completely controlled by the United States. All the social network platforms, Twitter, there is now X, then Facebook, everything is controlled by the United States. And the United States and Israel, they have very good relations. So all the propaganda are very related to the Israel. And so similarly, when during the clashes between the Meitei and the Kuki started, we found that the media, the lobbying, the kind of style of manufacturing fake news, I mean, it was done by some communities, especially belonging to the Kuki ethnic groups, because they started rewriting the entire history of the region. Right. So such problems are there, but we can say that there are some differences, but there are some similarities also. But what are different in history and the classes, in the dimension of the classes also, we can say.
Okay, basically the origin of the idea of Zalingam and the origin of the idea of Zionism is basically different, even though they have this idea of their exclusive homeland. I would like to come to Advocate Victor for the next question. Is that there was a Jewish kingdom in Jerusalem in the 1021 BC, and the first king being Saul, followed by King David, Solomon, and many others. And again in the 640 AD, the Muslims conquered Jerusalem and the whole of Palestine. But their rule ended in 1918 when the Ottoman Empire was defeated in the First World War. And then after that, the Palestine became a British mandate. The Jews started returning back to Palestine after that. And again, after the Second World War, it was flooded with the number of returning Jews in the Palestine area. In such a situation, my question is that, does being indigenous to the land have more right to settle there? And who are the indigenous people in Palestine?
Well, the term we employ the indigenous or aboriginals in a way, or otherwise like settlers, which is like from time to time we have come to use. It's like differs from one place to another place. Sometimes like some people will call that we are the natives and settlers, as well as indigenous aboriginals. Right. So basically the term aboriginal or indigenous itself is also having some ambiguous relating with the Meitei Kuki conflicts being enveloped within our society. So in a way, indigenous or aboriginal, they claim to be the settlers. Right. Out there in the Gaza Strip or this thing, whatever, like the Gaza side, and those Hamas groups, they claim that they are the settlers. If the Israel's claim to be the indigenous. So because they have been just settling there for more than 1,200 years. And after they left due to this thing, 1917 war and First World War and Second World War. After they come back and they started resuming the settlement out there in the Israel. However, the similarity here in the context of Manipur is like the Kuki communities are also, they claim somewhere like
yes.
they are also indigenous. They claim to be in the hillsides, though they dwell there. They claim as indigenous, not here in the Valley area. Yet the conflicts here in Manipur is a little bit slightly differs from that area. They plainly, the Israel and Palestinian, they claim about the settlement issues, where we have lots of issues, but basically those lots of issues once upon a time it was erupted is no longer. Now this is confined only in respect of the settlement issues. No longer we have the issues of those the ST and SC
right.
issues and those employment issues in terms of everything, like they are no longer exist now. Very much and substantial part we are supposed to digest is the part of land issues.
Right.
So it is akin to the very issue of Palestinian and Israelites. Those are like facing the same problem. In this way, how they have been entangled into such kind of similar issues that we have come into such kind of pictures and witness, but for the last many 60, 70 years they have been fighting. In the same way we just began to just have a fighting amongst our means like communities as well. So we cannot expect any in a very near and very soon that it can be settled with, in as much as those issues they have been entangled have been in spite of the efforts made from the side of the United Nations and Court of Justice and many other organizations, they have not been able to settle till that. In the same way, we are also like not likely to settle this issue unless there is a means like constant interventions from justice-oriented personality,
okay.
as well as like the concerned authority.
All right. Okay. Since you mentioned land issue, I would like to pick up what Mr. Satyajeet just said earlier, that regarding the issue of Palestine and Israel, that the Jews do have some legitimacy to claim their land. And how do you think? Do you think that the Kukis also have some kind of claim in Manipur, as they say that their idea of Zalangam all covers a major part of Manipur?
Yeah,
do you think they have some kind of claim over it?
The same in a short saying that we are like, even we approach for settlement, initiation comes into picture, let us say in that way, then like the border issue will come into picture.
Okay.
That's going to be the barricade. In the same way, like borders between Palestine and Israel is like, there is like another hassles where the UN and other organizations cannot exercise and execute proper manner, because in as much as Jerusalem, Bethlehem, that sides, and in the same way like the hills parts, the plains parts where we have intermingled communities dwell together.
Right.
Even the Kuki communities happens to demand for the separate administrations under the constitutions. If it is within the purview of Indian constitutions, it cannot be executed. In as much like the stress of this Senapati side via Tamenglong, it risks Kampupi side and Sursanpur, even touch the Imphal West side as well.
Right.
Those are the periphery and stress line where they claim they just like to have separate administrations beyond the purview of the administrations of Manipur state. So it is like same as the problem faced by the Israel and Palestine. So because Jerusalem should come within my side and Bethlehem should come my side, that is the problem. That's how
okay.
the entangled problem is similar. In the same way, like we will have the same problem. So I mean, like this is not likely to be executed by the concerned authority.
Okay. Okay, good point there that even though their claim of a separate administration cannot be executed in the purview of the Constitution. I would like to now come to Mr. Jodha Heikrujam that ever since the establishment of this Jewish state of Israel, there have been 6 Arab-Israeli wars. In each war, Israel have emerged victorious. They always gained territory and demographic advantage, which means that they always managed to drive out more and more Palestinian Arabs out of Israel. In the present conflict, Mossad reportedly failed to warn the state of Israel of the impending Hamas attack on October 7th. Mossad is one of the best secret service in the world. We all know that they have never failed in the past. Many say that this time, Mossad deliberately failed to give an opportunity to Israel for another round of ethnic cleansing. What do you say on this allegation on Mossad?
Thank you. Before I give the proper answer, we need to know about what is Mossad.
Right.
Okay. So Mossad is one of the most powerful intelligence agency in the world next to CIA.
Yes.
And we cannot directly say like this is the failure of Mossad regarding the present conflict between Palestine and Israel.
Right.
This is not only from the Mossad, but it's a complete failure of the Israeli government. Nowadays, in every countries, they keep on focus on technical intelligence rather than the human intelligence.
Okay.
So in Israel, within the Israeli government, there were fails of human intelligence. That's why Hamas take advantage being a great human intelligence as compared to Israeli government. Not only from the Mossad, the present situation in Israeli, there is instability in the political situations in the Israeli itself that affect the Israeli to control the present conflict, where they fail to control or pre-planned before Hamas attack on 6th of October. So I'll give an example. In the 1990s, there is a political disturbance in India itself. It made a lot of disturbance in the political instability. So when there is a political stability occurs in the countries, it affects the intelligence, it affects the defense systems, so it affects everything. So due to the failures of the human intelligence, the Israeli government failed to control the pre-planned attack by Hamas on 6th of October. And also, even the Israeli naval officer, Eli Meron, said that it was a huge failure of the newly formed Israel government. Not only from that, the newly elected Prime Minister, Benjamin, came into power before a few months back. Even there is a lot of disturbance within the Israeli government. So because of these reasons, Mossad had failed to control the present conflict. Not only for that, the Israeli government, they are failed to recognize the warning given by Egyptian intelligence official before the Hamas attack on the Israel government.
Would you say that this was foreseen and the government let it happen?
Yeah, of course. It's not only from the Mossad, because even I already told you that it's a problem of the failure of the government. Otherwise, as we know, like Israel is one of the most powerful countries, one of the powerful countries in the world, like US, like Germany.
Yes.
So it cannot be failed from the Mossad, because that agency was the most powerful agency in the world, and everything's to be bare, and everything's responsibility should be earned by Israeli government regarding the Hamas attack of the present conflict.
Okay, a governmental issue regarding taking decisions and taking in the intelligence report from the Mossad that couldn't fail. Okay, I'll be coming to Mr. Satyajeet for the next round. That throughout
Yes.
human history, regarding disputes between two countries, regarding disputes between two ethnic groups, politics, reasoning, or diplomacy fail to resolve the issue. At such a time, some say that war is inevitable, as written in the Mahabharata even 5,000 years ago, that only a war would resolve conflict. But the tragedy of war is that only when one side is defeated, peace can return and negotiations can take place. Does this apply to the Arab versus State of Israel? And what about the situation of the Meitei-Kuki conflict? Is war the final solution when all other means fail?
In fact, human memory, we say the human memory is short. But when it comes to politics, when it comes to history, human memory is not short. The conflict between the Israel and the Palestine, it has been going on since ages, since the 6th century BC. At some particular time, the Israelis, they were quite powerful. Then later, the Palestinians, they were quite powerful. But the problem was the emergence of the Byzantine Empire, the emergence of the Roman Empire, then the Ottoman empires. Then through ages, for 300 years, the Ottomans ruled them. For about more than 1,000 years, the Romans conquered them. So human history, though we always said that human memory is short, but when it comes to history, to humiliation, human history, human memory is quite long. So in this region, particularly in West Asia, what we are seeing is revenge politics. For example, the Israelis said that they will come back and start settling, but the British, as I said in the first round, British played a very big role in the resettlement of the Jewish people who follow Judaism. So they started resettling them. But as I said, this has a direct link with the Cold War when there were two superpowers. When as the Russian controls the entire Middle East and West Asia. The Americans wanted to have some hole in this region where they can do politics, where they can have a strategic relation. For instance, there are so many things which the United States cannot do. So what they do is through Israel. Israel is a very reliable country. They do not reveal secrets. For example, when we give money to Swiss bank, they never reveal. They reveal the identity of those who deposit money. It is same as the Israel. They never reveal any secret dealings. That's why whatever United States wanted to do secretly, they do it. Israel. So Israel is entirely backed by the United States. They are pouring in billions of money, so they are quite powerful. So in this region, as we said, the Palestinians they started feeling that they should start reclaiming their lane, and as they were quite powerful during the Ottoman empires. We know the powerful kings like Muhammad II, who took over Constantinople. Then, so they had quite powerful kings. So those movements started. So that's why we have People's Liberation, the Palestine Liberation Organizations (PLO). Then we have the Hamas. So slowly, different political structures then started emerging. But the problem is, just like in India, where there were militant group and there were moderate group. The Hamas is the militant group. They control the Gaza Strip, whereas the Fatah, they just like the PLO, they control the Palestine region. But we have to understand that India has been very favorably supporting the Palestine organization, and India was the first non-Arab nation to recognize Palestine as a state, and India even started opening offices in New Delhi. So India has also a very good relation with the Palestine. But in the recent developments, India has also started having relations with the Israel. But the problem was India was having a very good relation with the Palestine earlier. And when it boils down to the eastern region, where in India, for example, Manipur, some of our Kuki, they even claimed that they belong to the lost tribe of the Jews. So they started moving to Israel. So they are in the region where it's quite volatile, where they are under attack by the Palestinians. So we saw a newspaper report which said that more than 500 Kukis are working Israel. So Israel, Palestine, they are doing for their nation, they are fighting for something. But in our region, what we are seeing is that we already have a very peaceful, established region. Just like, because Manipur is an Asiatic power, it is very well established, and nobody questions its authority. It was a very peaceful, and when we joined India in 1949 on 15th October, it was a very peaceful, and there was good harmony. But the problem started, for example, Israel was backed by the US, and here a certain wave started coming. The Kuki people, they started coming, they started settling. They were given land. For example, we were quite, even Churachan Maharaj, the king, he was quite kind enough to grant land, and they started settlement. And their movement started, especially after the 7 Just devastation, that is after the 1830s, when King Narsingh was the king.
Right.
So, and when they started coming in, there was some demographic changes. When there is changes in demography, there is always a problem, because there were earlier 12 Naga MLAs. Now there are only 8 Naga MLAs. So when there is demographic changes, there is political instability.
Okay.
Earlier, when they started coming in, there were no problems. Now their population have increased, and the other problem is, as the US is supporting the Israel with money, what we fear is that what we term as narco-terrorism. What we fear is that those who are fueling problems in our region, it is supported by terrorist money, narco-terrorism, drugs, poppy plantation. It's a huge business. So what we fear is that bad money and bad politics are infiltrating and disturbing our region, and we feel that we should stop it. Otherwise, it may overpower us and bring instability in the region. Thank you.
Okay, as you mentioned, narco-terrorism and this black money is fueling the current war. Do you think that to end these narco-terrorist groups or the narco-terrorism activities, such kind of ethnic conflict and such kind of pseudo war is necessary to bring some kind of peace? Because earlier, through the past 5 months, we have seen that dialogues and negotiations have completely failed.
In fact, this is a very terrible conflict, because the budget, our budget is 3,000 to 4,000 crores annual Manipur. But the problem is with the poppy, those who are disturbing our region is they have a budget of 5,000 to 7,000 crores annually. So they have the power to bring in politicians who are favorable to them. That is exactly what we are seeing, favorable to them, and they can pour money and they can influence our electoral system also. So the only means which we can do is to identify who are those persons, who are those responsible for fueling the crisis, who are creating the crisis in Manipur. If we do not crack down with an iron hand, then we will succumb to their pressure, because they are giving everything. They have the money power, they have influence, they have politics, they have the ideology, and most important, they have the people to do what their leaders are saying. So we have to fight it, otherwise we'll be in trouble, because they have lots of money, they have lots of propaganda money, they have the money, they have the resources, and they have the mind to do it. And so what we are going through is a phase which is quite important. We should fight it with an iron hand. This is exactly what happened during the 7 years devastation, which we call in Manipur Sahitat Kuntakpa, in which we had to go to Bangladesh and other neighboring states and countries. So this is exactly that kind of influence, and we have to fight it with an iron hand and with the good leadership. Otherwise, I think we will be in trouble, I think. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That's a very good point. Before I come to Advocate Victor, I would like to first come to Mr. Jodha. Earlier you mentioned about the Mossad, that they never fail and that their intelligence report are always right and always works, and that this conflict is actually due to governmental failure. I would like to ask you to draw a parallel with the current situation in Manipur, that when in the onset of this May 3 mayhem, the Kuki-Meitei conflict, the Chief Minister of Manipur blamed that there have been an intelligence failure. Do you think that it is a failure of the intelligence or a failure from the side of the government to prevent such a bloodbath from happening?
Yeah, I must say, from my point of view, it's not the failure of intelligence.
Okay.
Because everyone knows that it's a well pre-planned. It will be happen at any time, but it was happened on 3rd May. So we cannot say like it was a failure of intelligence, because people, we all are aware like who they are and what they were planned to form. And since from May 3rd, not only from that, before 2-3 years ago, even they already demand for separate administrations, separate nations, and we have the placard for that they are going for rally in the Chojhampur itself.
Right.
So it's a well pre-planned, and like everything before the 3rd May, we already aware that this will be happened. Yeah, that much I can say.
Okay, but what do you think that? Do you think the government let it play out even with the information from the intelligence, if it was the case as you just said?
Yeah, so it can be done by our state itself. Even we need the help from the center as well. Right. But if, as we know, like we already aware this will be happen, but if the government take necessary actions before it start, that won't be affected that much right now that we are facing with from the 3rd May. It's more than 5 months.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot could have been done to prevent it. Now I'll be coming to Mr. Advocate Victor, but regarding an issue about conquest and war, that there is a doctrine or principle that says it's the doctrine of conquest. It says, and I quote, "A sovereign state may resort to war at their discretion, and territorial and other gains achieved by military victory will be recognized as legally valid." The Permanent Court of International Justice, the PCIJ, even recognizes this doctrine. This is the same as saying that might is right. In 2014, Russia annexed Crimea boldly and with impunity, and Crimea still belongs with Russia. If this is the case, what is the point in keeping all these international courts? And in Manipur also, the cookies tried to exercise this doctrine of conquest to grab land for their idea of homeland. If this is the norm, we also may reverse their right of conquest by arming ourselves and driving them out, and it will still be internationally legal by this doctrine. What is your opinion regarding this point?
Well, the doctrine of conquest, like it's until Second World War, it was valid. Thereafter, it has been modified. It means like clubbed together in such a way that it can be, either in terms of invasion. So right. There is a distinguish between the so-called term invasion and conquest. In conquest, you need to be a victory.
Okay.
Whereas in invasion, whether you become a victory or not, that is immaterial. However, at the present situations we face here in the context of Manipur, whether in what way it is going to be coined, whether it is conquest at the hands of the cookie or vice versa, or like whether it is like invention. At the first initial stage, we heard means in the newspaper as well as informed that it's likely to be invaded from the outside agency, perhaps from the Myanmar, we heard, but the same has been buried for pretty long time. Until that, the same has not been revealed and it doesn't unfold to the public. But at one point of time again, we come across like inventions, pictures have been like witnessed by all of us, that Lungri and all those things come into picture. They have just used the arms and weapons, and through satellite maps and all those things we have come to witness. And in this scenario, I should suggest that the politics, the role of politics, that they are playing a major roles, right. in which again the diplomatic roles is also like one of the significant issues where we have to delve into and we have to just digest with. So politics is like in such a way they play around, they play against the fools, the publics and those villagers and those without knowing anything. They come out and just on the floor and fighting as if they are fighting in a true or in a correct sense. We cannot measure that as well till that. That's why we haven't just experiences such kind of untold miseries and untold unwarranted issues happening here around. And in the way, in another manner, diplomatic issues have been just slightly, just to subdue the pressures from the side of the public. There is also being witnessed by all of us, but the public cannot say, public cannot either speak against the so-called roles played by the politicians and the diplomats. That's why it has been prolonged till that. And the doctrine of conquest is the role played by the one warrior side against the another vulnerable groups or weaker sections of the other side. However, in this respect, in order to control all these things, the International Court of Justice has come to establish. But the Court of Justice is also something just like the club and organizations we set up here in our society. They cannot enter into the issues of a common family. Just like their setup is well organized, no doubt, but they cannot just ask to settle the issues of a family. Just like, for instance, we are just like a family that living together with Kukis and Meiteis within the context of like Manipur state, but one outsiders vis-a-vis the International Court of Justice at the context of the international class, that they cannot, though they have laid down certain principles and doctrines or rules and regulations, so numbers of things are there, they cannot achieve till that, because the establishment itself is like full of nepotisms in a way.
Okay.
It seems like it is democratic. It's not democratic, so it cannot be materialized and it cannot be made effective till then.
Okay, just to interrupt you there, I just want to know that you just mentioned that the doctrine of conquest was valid only till the Second World War. But Russia annexed Crimea in 2014 and it is still valid. And also regarding the merger of Manipur, it was after Second World War, and then the merger of even Sikkim, even Pondicherry to the nation of India. What do you say on that?
It's about the Ukraine part. I can't hear you properly.
That you just mentioned that the doctrine of conquest was valid only until the Second World War.
Yeah.
But in 2014, Russia annexed Crimea.
That's also.
Do you think that it is being used by the strong and powerful till date?
Yeah, politically, that's the inclinations of communists.
Right.
That's vis-a-vis the Democrat sides and the communist sides. Like Putin met China, whereas like European countries met the democratic countries, and so conquest like may not be there, but still the meaning and significance is still like impliedly exercising and executing within the society. And globally, it's like no longer like conquest and term may not be employed, but still it's lingering.
Okay, thank you for a very good point. I would like to now come to Mr. Jodha, that Israel says that they will destroy this terrorist group Hamas, who are holed up in the Gaza Strip. They started indiscriminate aerial bombing of northern Gaza, but they again started attacking the West Bank. There is reportedly no presence of Hamas in the West Bank, that is for sure. Why is Israel harassing, attacking the Palestinian Arabs in the West Bank? What do you think? What is their secret? Is there any secret agenda?
Yeah, well, so before we're going deep, the audience will understand what is where the Palestinians live in the area of Israel.
Sure.
So Palestine live in two parts. One is Gaza Strip, one is Western Bank. Sorry, West Bank.
Yes.
So the recent attack came from Gaza Strip by Hamas,
Right.
but not from West Bank. So right now, in the West Bank, we have a very interesting story. Before I'm going to deep, we need to go back to the history regarding the West Bank. So, in 1047 BC, the king of Israel, it's called King of Solomon,
Right.
was constructed the first temple called Temple Mount, where Jews used to worship regularly in that temple. After that, in 586 BC, the king Babylonians emerged and demolished the first temple, and after that the Persians came and reconstructed the first temple again and renamed as Second Temple. And after that, the Roman Empire exists and again demolished the Second Temple. So when we talk about the Roman Empire, during the reigns of Roman Empire,
Right.
the Jesus Christ was born, and Jesus Christ is self a Jew. So, like in our Indian religions, Gautam Buddha, he himself a going for Hindu religions, but he practiced a different religions called Buddhism, and it formed a separate religion. Like that, Jesus Christ started a new religious tactics under the Roman Empire. So the Roman Empire loved the Christianity during the regimes. So in 306 BC, after the death of King Valerius and his son, the king of Constantine the Great built the Church of Holy Sepulchre that was 2 kilometers from the Temple of Mount. So the Temple of Mount comes in two ways. Like for the Muslim people, they used to believe that it called as Harim al-Sharif.
Right.
But for the Jewish people, they call it the Temple Mount. So after the Roman Empire was defeated by Arab army of Umar in 638 AD, and it was ruled by Arab army of Umar during that regime. And during that regime, the Arab army of Umar built the Dome of the Rock, and Al-Aqsa Mosque was constructed next to the second temple.
Right.
So right now, the main issues regarding the present conflict, where the Israelis started, torturing to the people who are living in the West Bank.
Right.
The main reason is the place called, regarding the capitals of Israel called Jerusalem.
Yes.
In Jerusalem itself, where I mentioned before, all the holy place from three community or three religions prospect, like for the Muslim, there was a mosque called Harim al-Sharif, and for the
Yes.
Christians, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, and for the Israeli, the Western Wall.
Yes.
So in that particular place, these three religions worship over there, and Israel itself, they want to conquer. They want the Jerusalem for themselves.
Yes.
So because everyone believe their own religions, and in the name of religions, everyone can do anything. Even like us ourselves. Right now, the present conflict is between, as per my current conflict regarding in our state Manipur. It's like when we say about maitais and cookies, like we can die for our indigenous maitais.
Right.
Seems like for Israeli also same thing regarding the Jerusalem. So for the occupations of Jerusalem, they want only one power in the Jerusalem. So before that, 60% of the West Bank was occupied by Israeli itself, and 40% was by Palestinians.
Right.
So the main reasons regarding the Israeli trying to attack to the people who are living in the West Bank is not only for the present conflict who are started by Hamas, but this mainly for the Jerusalem's congregations.
Okay. It is the contention of the Holy Land that is their main agenda in this war, and to occupy Jerusalem. I think even a few years back, the U.S. embassy that was situated earlier in Tel Aviv was shifted to Jerusalem. I think it was all choreographed to this point. Now I'll be coming to Mr. Satyajeet for the next round. That there is a book called The Jewish State. It was written by a Jewish intellectual called Theodor Herzl in 1895. He published this book, and the contents of this book later on became the movement known as Zionism, which is the idea of a Jewish state exclusively for the Jews. 51 years later, after the publication of this book, Israel was established in 1948 in Palestine. But then again, we see that the movement of Zionism has been met with a lot of hate amongst in Europe and even from Russia. And I would like to ask you that, do you find any kind of similarities between this book of Theodor Herzl's The Jewish State and the book written by B.S. Haukip, The Zalingam? Do you think the cookies wish to practice Zionism in Manipur, at least for land grabbing purpose?
In fact, the book which we referred was written by he's considered as the spiritual father of the Jewish state, Theodor Herzl.
Yes.
In fact, the Zionism movement prior to Theodor, it was still going on, but he gave it a concrete shape. He gave a concrete shape to it, and he modified in such a way that it was acceptable to the people. Right. And so, and it gave hope to the dispersed people. For instance, the difference between the Kuki and the Jewish people, they were scattered. Most of them were in the United States, then UK. They were scattered in every part of the globe. So those who were scattered, he gave a dream to them to have a particular homeland to them. And so it gave a vision to the scattered people, whereas in this vision, it is expansionism for the Kuki. Okay. It gave homeland for the Jews, Theodor Herzl, but for the Kukis, the book which you referred, it's an expansionism. For instance, I have a home, but next moment I want to expand to my neighbor. That is expansionism. One is expansionism, and one is giving a home to the scattered people. So there's slight differences, and the other issues is both dreams. It creates some problems also. For example, Theodor Herzl, Palestine was a very peaceful area, and when he started having a dream, when he started to have a homeland state, it started a problem. It started a global crisis. Then, because Jews are very influential people, they have money, they have the intellectual power, and they have a very good lobby in the United States because of their population. Even in England also, because of their influence in politics. So they were able to influence the superpowers to have their homeland. And for the Kukis, I think they have done a blunder, because their belief is number one, not based on their own history. Their first mistake is they have to have their own identity. They have demystified, they have tried to destroy the history of their neighbors. For example, Nagas, Kukis, Meiteis, not Kukis, Meiteis. That's why their concept of their land was negated by various organizations in Nagaland. So the one is expansionism, and one is to have a dream homeland. So both are slightly similar, but both are in fact quite harmful, and it creates lots of problems for the people. Right. For instance, when we say that, for example, in India, we said that we migrated from Africa 40,000 years ago. Right. Those who are settled in the South India. If they started saying that we were from Africa, we'll go back and started the homeland, it would create a problem. For example, we said that the Brahmins, they come from Central Asia. Then if we said that we came from 4,005 years ago, we'll go back to Central Asia and reestablish a nation. So it creates problem. So both this concept of reestablishing their ancestral root, their homeland, is a very dangerous concept, and this is not conducive to modern politics. The best politics is we have reached, after the Second World War, we have reached a global peace, and we have reached a position where we should not try to disturb the political entity, because we cannot say that 2000 years ago I was living here, say I will come back and settle here. We cannot do that, because we have reached a stable nation status. So such concepts are quite dangerous to the global peace, and such motives should not be encouraged, and we should, as I said in the second round, we should deal with an iron hand, otherwise we will face a problem. And unluckily, we happen to be the part of the expansionist policy of of our Kuki friends. They should stop such policy, and they should stick to their lane in Myanmar or whatsoever, and when those who are settled here, they should try to live peacefully, as we were living earlier. The concept of state, the concept of expansionism, they should stop it. Otherwise, because they should know that other people, they can also retaliate, they can also attack them. There will be peace, there will be no peace. So such politics should be stopped. Thank you.
But then again, the Kuki have been reconstructing history back to in mingling with the history of Manipur itself. And in the book of Zalingam, it said that it is their homeland by merging these areas of Burma to Bangladesh. What do you say about that? Because in their Zalingam and in this book, there is no mention of any kind of coexistence or multiculturalism or any kind of that. What do you say about that?
In fact, we all belong to the Mongoloid group. In the Mongoloid group, there are basically three linguistic groups. One is the Tibeto-Burman, one is the Kukichin, and one is the Meitei Loan or the Manipuri language. These three are the main backstone of the Mongoloid group in our region. And in fact, ours was the Meitei itself is Meitei language. We find words of Kuki, words of Naga. It's a Meitei civilization is it's a mixed group, we can say, because Meitei is not one ethnic group. It is formed by various ethnic groups. But as we all know that all historians, everyone knows that Manipur, as I said, Manipur was an Asiatic power. Its influence reaches China. Its influence reaches Myanmar, then Tripura, then Bangladesh. It was a quite a powerful nation. And the concept of nation as we established, as we give today, was different in the 18th century, in the 19th century, in the 20th century. The concept is based in the 20th century, and it is quite dangerous. And as I said, they have no basis, they have no foundation, and there is just a hypothesis. There is just a theory. They don't have any basis. For instance, for us, we have to have history, we need archaeological evidences. We need to have literary sources. Right. We have literary sources. We have archaeological sources. We have oral sources. We have everything. Even, for example, for the Meiteis, we said Thangjing. Yes. It's a religious place. We respect it. Then Kobru, we respect it. Then Wangbren, we respect it. Because we have been living in this land for a very, very long time. So every land is precious, and we respect the trees, we respect the animals, we respect everything. Because we have been growing up as an ecology in this region. That's why newcomers, those who are alien to this area, when they come to our place, they will not hesitate to destroy our Thangjing hills. They will not hesitate to destroy the Kobru, because they are not linked to it. They do not have any emotional relationship with the area. Whereas the Meiteis have very good relation with the ecology. They have history with the land. So that's why we said that their movement is baseless. It is based on concocted history. So I think whatever they are doing is a hypothesis, and they should stop doing it, because it, as I said, it disturbs peace and tranquility in the region. They should stop doing it. They should start learning to live with other communities peacefully, right. Because in Manipur itself there are more than 34 communities. We all live peacefully together. Yes. And if we are saying that I will live alone, then it has no meaning. Thank you. So, exactly. So they should learn to live together.
Yes, the coexistence that is a key to a unified and a stable, peaceful land. And again, I would like to point out that recently Benjamin Netanyahu also mentioned that Israel is their right, because when the Arabs ruled Palestine, they made the land barren without any fertile or any kind of vegetation. And he said that after the return of the Jews, the Jews have made the land fertile, made it productive, and they have nurtured the land. And he says that it's because it's rightful theirs. On the contrary, the cookies we know that have been destroying our forests, our sacred lands, and everything for the sake of poppy plantation. And this is, I think, a very good point regarding the history and the claims of our land. I would like to now go to Mr. Advocate Victor, that in every war and every conflict, there are victors and there are the defeated. And there are victims of war as well. The victims of war and conflict, they take a whole lifetime to rebuild their former lives. Do you believe, and how do you believe that we as a community can better support and protect the innocent civilians who are caught up in the aftermath of conflicts and wars? What steps can be taken to ensure their safety and well-being?
Well, we have witnessed the repercussions and ramifications and the consequences thereof, which is caused by the war, even like to the extent of this Palestine and this Israel. In a family, 50% of the members are below the poverty line.
Yes.
So in the same way, we'll also have that kind of unlike events. So how there is to be tackled, that is not at the hands of themselves, those who are displaced, because home sweet home, they would like to return in the earliest and expeditious manner, which is to be discharged as a duty and duty bound on the part of the governance. And as a public, we can do to the extent of like financial contribution and some clothes and thereof the requirements, but they won't feel satisfied with. So
right.
How it is to be materialized at any cost, at the earliest possible, and they are facing lots of psychological issues as well. And so an eye for eye, and the whole world becomes blind,
right.
and in which you will be included, I may be included, and the system will be totally included, and
right.
Thereby we'll come to know that, we'll realize ultimately that this was the mistake, and we should not learn any lessons in the future from the mistake committed by either of the side. I'm not blaming to either of the side, either where has the communication gap. The failure of war is because of the gap of communication. It is not the war but the words, there is a saying. So till that we haven't had any good communications, and prior to the so-called chaotic situation and violence, resorting to the so-called violence issues, we haven't had a good communications amongst all the communities, whether it is tribals or Nepalese, whether it's outsiders, or whether it's Kukis or Meiteis and Meitei Pangals. We've totally failed in terms of a good communications. So basically I would like to draw the attention from the public and from the concerned authority that we should have bridged the gap of communication. So by bridging this gap of communication failure, then we can initiate another step for the development and for restoring the present situations, the chaotic issues we are facing with. So we cannot measure that this is the level and this is to this extent, this is the limitation. We cannot measure. It may be serious than this also, in terms of economy, in terms of education, in terms of development, the force of globalizations, and why we are fighting for. This is, I'm not supposed to say everyone is aware of the same fact, but who has to deal with.
Would you say that we currently, the Imphal Valley, have peace? Would you say that there is peace in Imphal Valley or generally in Manipur? Or do you think that there will be peace only when the situation has come to the state where it was before the condition, before the 3rd of May? Would you say there is peace currently?
I could not comprehend properly.
Would you say that currently, as of today, there is peace in Manipur? And what, according to you, will be considered peaceful, especially to those displaced?
Yeah, displaced persons can be, as of now, currently they can be accommodated. But in what manner they are being accommodated, that is up to their satisfactions. That's why I employ the terms that home sweet home.
Right.
You shouldn't be deprived at the cost of the public, and on the ground of the so-called politics, or on the ground of the so-called struggles whatsoever. And expeditiously, no one can annihilate expeditiously. It needs to be, addressed to the public, and so that the democratic fabric shall not be disturbed by any of the persons, including the governance.
Right. That is a very good point that Mr. Victor just put here. Now I would like to come to Mr. Jodha, that the Arab Muslims in Palestine, they made a very grave mistake between First World War and the Second World War. The newcomers, Jewish people, when they returned to Palestine, they were secretly forming a militia armed group known as the Haganah. They were confident, the Palestinians, they were confident of their majority, since they were 70% of their population. They thought that being in comfortable majority, the British mandate and the League of Nations would do them justice. They completely ignored to form a military wing, just in case sometimes if talk and reason failed. After the British mandate ended and after the British troops left Palestine, the Jews, who were only 30% of the population, they used their armed militia to drive out large numbers of the Arab Muslims out of Palestine. Coming back to Manipur, the Kukis, they are not the majority community, but they give a lot of emphasis on their weapons and their military wing. There are many of them presently, and we have seen a lot of them on the social media, even in news. The central security forces that have been deployed may be withdrawn at any time, just like the British troops were withdrawn in Palestine in 1948. Keeping this in mind, if the central and the state government fails to disarm the Kukis, do you think that the Métis need to bear arms for our survival? What are your thoughts?
I would say we all are Indian.
Yes.
And we are living under the umbrella of Indian constitutions. When the India fails to execute the rules of law within their own countries, we will fight with or without arms to safeguard our indigenous land at any cost, and no one can stop us. When India failed to protect the territorial integrity of Manipur, we will also fight legally against the forcefully Manipur merger agreements with the help of the United Nations under international humanitarian law. And we, as of today, right now the firing was stopped.
Yes.
It doesn't mean that the peace exists. And this is not the permanent solutions that was taken by state as well as central government. We need the permanent solutions. And this can be happens at any time after any moment, after if they stop firing also, because this is not the solution that will not be the solutions until and unless it comes to the permanent solutions between these two communities. And if center as well as with the help of the state government initiate the permanent solutions, like if the state government is ready to revoke the Sioux agreements, but the central government didn't access and initiate the process of Sioux agreement between the tripartite nations.
Yes.
So we need the permanent solutions, in order to solve the present problem. Otherwise, we as a minority community will face severe than the present situations that we are facing with right now.
Okay, but how do you think the cookies can be disarmed at this situation currently that we're facing?
See, they have their own goals, like they just want to form the unification between Kuki, Mizo, where they are living in different part of the country as well as different part of the state. They will do at any time, whether they do under the Sioux agreement or without the Sioux agreement, they will definitely do. So, because as we are aware that they are not giving up easily.
Right.
So if it's all like, recently, as we knew that in the media, like our state government doing inspections,
right,
in the Sioux camp, where sometimes they used to found some arms, and some arms were missing as well. Everyone they knew that this combined special force will coming to check whether the weapons is available or not. Everything can be planned before they came.
Yeah, there's a saying that says that self-help is the best help,
yeah,
and self-defense is the best defense. Do you agree?
Sorry for interrupting you.
Sure.
Sometimes we have to learn self-defense in order to protect, to safeguard our indigenous land. How these people who came from Myanmar in the 18th century and they're claiming for the separate administration and separate land for them, it cannot be possible at any cost. And we will fight for them as well. And we will win at the end. That's much I can share it.
Yes, thank you for a very good point. Since our episode has come to an end for tonight, we will have to wrap up this episode. So to summarize the key takeaways for our topic today, that is the lessons from the present conflict in Palestine, the key takeaways is that territory and home sweet home. That is the main thing that we as citizens of the country, of the land, should do and need to do anything that we can to protect the national integrity, the state integrity. With that, we are coming to an end. We would like to thank our panelists for tonight. Thank you, Mr. Ningthoukhongjam Satyajeet and Advocate Victor Chongtham and Mr. Jodha Heikrujam for joining us tonight. Thank you very much from the side of ELITETV. I would also like to thank our viewers for tuning in tonight. Please share your feedback and comments with us. We will be back again next Monday, same time, with more exciting topics. Please keep watching ELITETV. This is Amrita signing off. Have a good week.